I also want to take the time to thank right at the start here Mr. Molden, our counseling departments who put together this evening, and Mr. Dugan, who you met on your way in, who coordinate a lot of what you're going to hear tonight and a lot of what you have in your hands right now. So I want to thank them for all their work. To start, let's do a quick show of hands. For how many of you is the child that you're here to learn about the college admission process your first who will be applying to college? Those hands nice and high. So that's a pretty healthy dose of you already. All right, so for you folks, a few warnings and things to know as you get into this process. Things have changed a bit since most of us applied to college X number of years ago. If you're like me, you may have applied to 1 or 2 or 3 schools. You may have visited those schools, or you may not have. You may have done some of this work before senior year, but if you're like me, you didn't do any of it until well into the start of senior year. And you filled out applications to each of those schools individually by hand. Things have changed, for better and for worse in that regard, and you're going to hear a little bit about that tonight. The experience of being a first-time parent through this process can often be a little bit of the, I'm not sure I know what I don't even know about this process, and I wish I knew all the questions to ask. We're not here to answer all those questions tonight. In fact, most of those questions and that anxiety you may already be feeling is going to last for a long time, unfortunately. What we're here to do is hopefully normalize that feeling a little bit for you and say it's okay. It is a process. It's a long process. It requires patience. There's lots of different places that you'll be getting input from, and hopefully we can guide you and get you started thinking along those processes for the first time. Add into that anxiety that as your first child going off to college, this is also your first child who will be leaving home, who will live at this college most likely, or will live outside of your home for the first time, who will be going off to these campuses. So that also brings, as my baby suddenly is going off and leaving the home, can bring a level of anxiety that we just charges the whole thing. And now that I've helped to raise your blood pressure to a pretty high level, let's see a show of hands who this is not your first child, son or daughter, but you have gone through this process once before. Nice and high. See, you can survive it. And these people, one more time, nice and high, these people are also experts on this process. These are good resources. They know the ins and outs. They know the anxiety that I'm speaking of, and they also can be great resources for us. So as I've now called them all out, feel free when there are breaks or stops to address them. Hopefully, in fact, this happens to us often here, when freshmen come back from that first year in college, and or sophomores come back for a game, or they come back to campus for the first time. What we hear over and over again, fortunately, is it's the perfect fit. We found it. We couldn't imagine ourselves anywhere else. So I'm going to hold that out as the end of the road. It happens. They get there, and they do come back. The road to get there, again, can be a long one, and it can have lots of ups and downs. And frankly, with all due respect to those of them that are in the room here tonight, your sons don't always help us out with this process. We, like we do with many things here, try and put them in the lead. We want them to be prepared when they arrive at those colleges to advocate for themselves, to ask questions for themselves, to be able to do a lot of this on their own. But frankly, there is a good deal of this process that might be too large for them, that might be too overwhelming for them, and they are dealing with that same roller coaster of emotions over the next year, 2 years, year and a half, however long it's going to be, that you'll be going through as a family. So when they tell you, I've got it all under control, you don't have to believe them. You are welcome to give us a call. When you can't find the answer to that question on our website, which is extensive in regards to the information you have in front of you here and what we put in their hands, the college website doesn't seem to have the answer, Naviance doesn't seem to have the answer, or you just don't want to deal with the computer anymore, call us. We've been through this process before, and hopefully we'll be guides for you in terms of all of the questions, concerns, and anxieties that come up through this process. So welcome, thanks for being here tonight. With that, let me turn it over to Mr. Molden, who's going to introduce the rest of tonight's program. Thank you.